Classic TV fans, Rick Nineg here. Thank you so much for joining me today. We're going to be talking about Seinfeld, one of my favorite TV shows of all time, of the modern TV shows, that is. Now, I really want to talk about the Chinese restaurant episode. If you're familiar with the series, I think this is the epitome of Seinfeld. This is the episode that made the show what it is. Seinfeld started out really rough between season 1 and season 2, and only the wheels started spinning in a way where people started getting it, where people started enjoying the show in the beginning of season 3. I would say season 3, episode 1. But if we go back, the Chinese restaurant episode from season 2 is probably amongst the best. It set the standard for what we were going to see and watch and enjoy on Seinfeld. Now, this is a season 2, episode 11 production. Now, what was going on in terms of the synopsis of the episode was that Jerry, George, and Elaine were waiting for a table at the Chinese restaurant where they were being told it would be 5 to 10 minutes to get a table. Now, people began arriving after them, and they began being seated ahead of them. That is, people who seemed to arrive later than Elaine, George, and Jerry, who were already waiting, they were already being seated. So Elaine is starving. And so while they're waiting, Jerry dares her to walk to a table and eat someone's food. Now, he also sees someone who he can't place. He thinks he's seen this person before. Now, meanwhile, George is desperate to call Tatiana and gets upset while others in the restaurant lobby hog the phone and don't let it use it. Now, when the episode starts to get more interesting is that you start to see that time goes by and they're still not seated. They go back to the man in the middle of the restaurant asking him when they're going to be seated, and he continues by saying 5 to 10 minutes. They begin to be frustrated. They're even trying to go out to see a movie. They're trying to make the showtime, and they wait while these storylines continue going on. George uses the phone, Elaine is super hungry, and Jerry is just trying to place this woman who he once thought that he knew. Finally, all of this resolves when they all get tired and say, "We've been waiting for so long." Ask him how long. The guy says 5 to 10 minutes, and they all leave the restaurant. Once they all leave the restaurant, you finally hear the guy yell out their name, "Seinfeld, table for 3?" And they aren't there. And it's just the perfect ending for a perfect episode. Because why? You just watched an episode where everyone was waiting for a table, and they made you enjoy it. They made you enjoy it with other storylines. They almost hypnotized you into enjoying it, but in a really smart and crafty way. That's what made this show so great. I mean, it was so unique, a premise that it was never ever done before. Now, before I talk about Kramer and Michael Richards, who you notice is absent from this episode. He's also absent from another episode, The Pen, along with Jason Alexander, who played George in the series. Now, the script did change through time. The original one had Jerry, George, and Elaine picking up their least favorite holiday as they enter the restaurant. Jerry chose New Year's, George picked Halloween, and Elaine picked the 4th of July. Now, in the version that actually aired on television, they talk about combining the jobs of a policeman and a garbage man into a single job. Again, these are the type of funny random topics they would talk about. Now, in the original draft of the script, the 3 friends also discuss how to spend any future long waiting periods. For example, George suggests bringing a deck of cards when you're waiting. Jerry recommended bringing a jigsaw puzzle with nothing but penguins. And one scene was cut before broadcast where George explained to Jerry that he pulled a hamstring while trying to untuck the covers of a hotel bed while he was in Boston. Now, George can be seen grabbing at his hamstring when he walks toward the phone, but it's never explained why. That's, of course, because that scene was cut out. Now, in terms of Kramer, one of the beloved characters of Seinfeld, played by the talented Michael Richards, he did not appear in this episode. Now, you may ask why. Well, at this point in the series, the characters weren't even completely fleshed out. It was established that Kramer had not left his apartment in many years, so there was no reason for him to be out of the apartment with the gang because he was essentially in isolation. And now Michael Richards, the actor, was very disappointed and actually very upset that he was not included in this episode. Once he saw when it aired, he realized that it was one of the best episodes of the series, and he felt that he should have been included in the episode somehow. So that's what they did. They made tweaks to his character so they actually did leave the apartment, and that storyline was kind of cut because it was never established. It was kind of assumed. And so he was upset. He almost threatened to leave the show. He's like, if you're not going to use me, then I don't even want to be part of the show. But of course, they didn't let that go far. They wanted him in the show. They wanted the storyline to change a little bit. It was the earlier scripts of the show. And once they established that he did leave the apartment and so forth, he was used in later episodes. He wasn't used in the pen, which later became an episode. We'll talk about that one day. But let me know what you think about this episode, the Chinese restaurant, and what do you think about Seinfeld in general? Do you want me to cover more of these episodes, more fun facts and information, like him threatening to walk off the show if he wasn't used in basically all the episodes? Thank you so much for your support as always. I do appreciate it. We'll see you all next time, and don't forget, everyone, be hopeful. Thank you so much to everyone who supports my work on Patreon. David D, Sally N, Gerard D, Greg S, Ricky, Citizen Kane 359, Kevin K, and Vito L. If you want to appear on this list, don't forget to look at the Patreon description in the link below. Thank you.